Hey guys, I have a subscriber request for the M103 American tank. I just did a video on the E5. These two tanks have very similar play styles. I do have a tips and tricks playlist, so if you're struggling with a tank or an aspect of the game, shoot over there. Hopefully there's a video that can help you out. But diving right into the M103. So number one is knowing your role. You're a heavy tank. You're meant to be on the front lines. Now, going over the strengths and weaknesses of the M103, you do have really good frontal armor, pretty strong. You do have a lower hull. You do have a small weak pull on top. So you want to be putting yourself in positions to protect that lower hull, maybe a little bit behind somewhat of a smaller hill, coming up over just a little bit of a hill and just peeking that turret out, using that little bit of gun depression you do have, and then wiggle back and forth when enemies are taking aim at you. So right off the bat here, I'm trying to get into the front line position so I can really utilize those strengths. Now, excuse me, that Brigetto 46, that got quite a shot on me. I think I did turn my turret a little bit over. He did spot me, so he was doing an effective job, but here I am, just like how he was saying, is putting myself in a position to try and protect that lower hull and using this little bit of a hill to get myself in a protected position that I can back up. I'm also in a position, I do mention this a lot in my tips and tricks videos, on utilizing your team, understanding, being aware of the map, the positioning, not tunnel visioning, because this is a great position because I have a lot of my team behind me just from looking at the map and providing excellent support for me being in this position. Now, I know with teams and Blitz, that's not always ideal and the best, and you can't control what they do, which is why I've kind of given up on telling people to go left, right, whatever, but just kind of utilizing their positioning on where they're going and then positioning your place according to where they're at and where the enemy is when they're spotted. So if you're in a heavy tank, and even with a lot of tanks, this is what I share in my tips and tricks videos, and make sure that you're within view range of them. Yeah, they may be noobs or whatever, but just the fact they're there can create some sort of intimidation factor for the enemy to not so much rush you. Like if you were on one side of the map alone by yourself and your whole team was on the other side, you can get just absolutely rushed and just killed. So this is a great position. I'm utilizing a little bit of that hill, that frontal armor, making sure that any shots are taken at me, that they can just see the front of my turret, just peeking over, and it's just a great position for the M103. Now, some of the weaknesses is, like I said, it has okay gun depression, but you can utilize some slopes, but nothing too steep in terms of hills like tanks that have 10 degrees of gun depression. The other thing is your sides and your rear are pretty weak, so you want to make sure to protect those. So when you're utilizing your strengths, making sure that enemies only see the front of your tank, and then protecting that lower hull, and then if they're trying to take aim at your cupola or any part of you while that lower hull's protected, is just wiggling back and forth. So I've got two replays here. Now this one, I'm actually the lowest tier. So I'm gonna play just a little bit more conservative and cautious, but I'm still utilizing my teammates. Now I turn my turret in this direction because if they have a light and they take aim and shoot at me, then I have a higher chance of bouncing that round by having my turret positioned like that than if I just had it pointed straight. So kind of also goes into understanding the map that you're on as well, really has a powerful impact. So I'm kind of looking at my team up. We're kind of scattered all over, so I'm really not going to be hyper aggressive here. I'm also a lower tier, and I'm going to use, also like how I did in the last one, you have to utilize the landscape to help position you in ways to protect yourself. So here we are. I see that they've got a few guys over here on the side. I'm trying to use the landscape to protect myself. I'm keeping an eye on my map, and I'm taking just a few blind shots here at that bush to hopefully hit that grill and suppress him a little bit. So I'm not necessarily sure if that worked while I'm playing, but I'm just trying to be very aware, just paying attention to my team, and that really helps, not only just playing with a tank like the M103. Here I was able to bounce from that grill, keeping my turret pointed, but that Yagura was able to pen me. That thing does have actually pretty good penetration. So it also helps when playing a heavy tank is understanding the tank's penetration value, because tanks like tank destroyers, especially if they're a tier higher than you, are going to have most of the time pretty good penetration. And even though you're coming across other tanks while you're in a heavy tank, try to utilize that armor. When you're a higher tier, it can be a little misleading because, yeah, you're bouncing more rounds when you're fighting lower tiers. And then when you go into a battle with higher tiers and you're the lower tier, you've got to be a little bit more careful. Use a little bit more of that landscape, use a little bit more of your team, but you can really still be aggressive and push up and utilize those data points to get you in a good position to get those enemies. So here I'm trying to support the T-22. I'm always looking for ways to even help my team. This T-22 medium is doing a great job. He's also trying to side scrape and trying to support him the best I can. The other thing you'll notice too, before I poke out, and I do share this in my other tips and tricks videos, is I use my third person view a lot. So before poking out, coming up over a hill, going around a corner, use that third person view, because it'll really help you know where the enemy is aiming, what's kind of going on around that corner or over that hill before completely exposing or popping yourself out. The other thing too that really helps is you'll notice even in both replays, I try to keep myself at fairly low points within the map, the landscape, and then within view range of my teammates, and trying to use that landscape to utilize and protect my weak points and put myself in a position to utilize my strengths at all times while I'm playing with a heavy tank. So here, just got rid of the grill. I don't know where the T-30 is. I'm turning my turret just a little bit. I'm not cutting middle of the map because I want to make sure that I don't know where he is. I mean, he could be on one of those ridge lines in the center or whatever, and he'd have just an easy, very detrimental shot if he got an HE round right into my rear. So I'm trying to go around the side here. The fact that the T-30 is not supporting this chieftain almost makes me wonder, is he AFK? I mean, I haven't really necessarily come across him exactly on the map. Tried paying attention to some of the battle markers, which also really helps. And so we haven't necessarily spotted him yet, and this FV hasn't been getting hit from him. So I'm gonna try and go up and get a shot just right on him. I get detected, so I'm trying to be careful. I know that Chieftain has good gun depression, and even when I'm coming out around corners like that, I don't know if that one was necessarily a great example, but I do try to angle it so I'm not completely flat when I'm coming around corners. I'm trying to come around in the way that they only see the front of my hull, but just very angled. I try to do that here when I come up on the T-30. We do spot him here. I really don't know what that T-30 was doing, because he really could have, the enemy honestly here could have won. If he was supporting that chieftain a little bit more, they could have really had the advantage here. So him just sitting, this is a perfect example of why camping is just not helpful, because he just wasn't even in view range of his chieftain. Camping is just sitting in one spot basically the whole game, and that's not going to help. So I'm trying to, I know this guy is a tank destroyer, he's got great penetration, and so I'm trying to use that hill where I'm a lot lower, but he's got really good gun depression, so that's not really helping. His reload's a lot longer than mine, so really also understanding the aspects of the enemy tank, your tank, and what you're capable versus the tank you're fighting really helps as well. So anyway, this is the Muffin here. Hope this helps. Stay cool and keep tanking.